Welcome everyone back to weekly weather updates, and this evening we'll have a look at the live radar, we'll have a look at precipitation charts, and then we'll have a look at the GFS, GFS ensembles, and then we'll have a look at some temperature charts as well. But at the moment we do have some very severe weather, especially in the southeast of England, with some very intense thunderstorms and heavy rain. But do remember, if you enjoy my videos, make sure you like and subscribe. Do remember to follow me on Twitter as well, links in the description. I also got some decent footage of the torrential rain and thunderstorm where I am, and I'll be uploading that over the course of this evening, so if you're watching it and I've uploaded it, I will link it up in the top right, but if not, make sure you do stay tuned for that, as it will be up in the next few hours. And we saw a very interesting feature develop over the course of this afternoon to this evening. We've had a stationary sort of area of rain stretching from sort of Hertfordshire all the way down through the centre of London, down into Surrey. There have been some exceptional rainfall amounts. Some areas have seen 60, 70, 80 millimetres of rain, and the rain is still falling. The thunderstorms have started to let up in this line, because as the thunderstorms take off, they create a lot of cloud, and what sometimes happens in these scenarios is when you've got a lot of cloud, it does mean the convection doesn't quite bubble up as much, and that's why we're starting to see these other cells starting to take off in sort of the outflow area, as these storms are generally moving in from the east. So if we do, we'll have a look at it right now and then we'll wind it back. But you can see there are still some isolated thunderstorm cells, especially over southern England, coming into parts of Hertfordshire, Essex as well. A couple in southern Wales. In northern England there's been some persistent light rain, and then in Ireland there's been some very isolated thunderstorm cells as well. But really the main issues we've been seeing is over central London, some intense flooding, and it's still raining pretty steadily. So if we do run it back all the way to 5:45, you can see the mass thunderstorms we had. We have one sort of down here towards Ashford area, then up towards Hounslow, up through Wembley, and then into sort of Edmonton, Enfield, East Finchley, and then another cell in sort of High Barnet, Totteridge, and then some coming out into Hertfordshire, into sort of Northaw, and then we're out to Ware, and then sort of on an outflow. And if we do run this through, you can see this line of storms just stayed stationary, didn't move, and more cells developed behind, and we've just seen for the last sort of 2 or 3 hours it's staying completely stationary. Now we have seen some very heavy rain towards the south coast as well, we've seen some flooding as well with that. But there have been more breaks in the rain. You can see there are isolated storm cells, but there are more breaks in the rain, whereas in this band we've just seen completely stationary torrential rain for a good 3 hours now. So if we do have a look at the past 24-hour precipitation, this will show it really quite well. You can see along that band of rain we've seen about 60, 70, maybe even 80 millimetres of rain in some portions. Right on the longest line, either side, only 10 or 20 millimetres or even less. And then you can see as well southern areas, we've seen those heavy thunderstorms as well. We've seen 40, 60, maybe 80 millimetres once again in a few spots. But again, more breaks in cloud. But it's really because how densely populated it is, being in rush hour. We've seen some very big travel disruption with this. So very intense storms. We did forecast it yesterday. We did say within that yellow rain warning that we still do have in force, there was a decent chance we could see some very high totals in localised areas. And funnily enough, these localised areas have formed over sort of central London in this line. Still some quite intense conditions to come, as we have seen some storms on the outflows. So in this area, we really need to keep an eye. Even in this just general area, we've still seen 20 or 30 millimetres of rain. One intense cell for 10 or 20 minutes can create some large surface flooding. And if you are in this sort of yellow area where we've seen a lot of rain, still does look like there is more moderate, potentially still some heavy rain to come over the next few hours before it does start to peter out. But very intense conditions seen with this. truly, where it just shows you the true power of thunderstorms if we do get them stationary on sort of a convergence area. So, if you are going out this evening, make sure you do stay safe, and if you do see any flood water, do not go through it, as only a few inches of standing water is enough to sort of make your car unstable and potentially cause some accidents. So please don't go through flood water. If you do see, or if you are going somewhere, just turn around and find a different route. So if we do have a look at the UK Met Office, we'll just run through this over the next sort of 12 to 24 hours, see how this rain eventually peters out. You can see these thunderstorms in the southeast. You can see generally over the course of this evening it becomes more and massive rain as the instability sort of peters out as the sun sort of sets. And you can see many northern areas, the showers eventually peter out, and we do just see some more lighter, persistent rain, but on top of the extreme rainfall totals we have at the moment, still could cause some issues. Beyond that, rain does clear away. Few showers potentially through tomorrow afternoon before high pressure does build in, and we do see some summery conditions start to come in. So we now have a look at the GFS. We'll run through that over the next sort of 10 plus days. See that low pressure does move away, and then high pressure does start to build in, and things are going to be turning a lot drier with even some warmer conditions. And I've been seeing some comments after, unfortunately, last night's football results that instead of football coming home, summer is coming home, and it's looking like we're going to be seeing some very pleasant summery conditions. As we head towards next weekend, you can see high pressure firmly over the top of the country, some quite warm air starting to waft its way further northwards. We do see that warm air come into the southern areas through sort of Sunday, Monday, Tuesday. Then we do start to see the potential of low pressure starting to come in, which could maybe throw up some few thunderstorms. Again, sort of 9-10 days away, so we have to keep an eye on that. It does throw up some thunderstorms there, so we just have to keep an eye on that in the longer term. But as ever, with these big areas, high pressure, always potentially going to get some small feature or low pressure system developing, undercutting it. So we'll just have to keep an eye on that in the longer term. But generally in the longer term, it doesn't look like there's going to be any massive deluges, apart from the risk, of course, of thunderstorms when we do see some lift. If we do have a look at the GEM, which has been very bold with its hot weather predictions over the last few days, we see that low pressure clear away over the next few days and high pressure firmly in control by later of this working week, with some very hot air mixed in within it, a lot hotter. And by this weekend, we could be seeing 30 degrees. It is very possible, especially further southwards. But with the high pressure over the top of the whole country, I wouldn't be surprised to see mid to high 20s widely, even towards coastal areas where we do see winds fall a little bit lighter. As ever, it will be cooler as we do always will see sort of a sea breeze. But temperatures will be very pleasant regardless of where you are. As we head through next week, you see high pressure starts to move back a bit further eastwards, and we do start to drag in southerly winds as low pressure starts to move in, and it could waft up some even hotter air, and that's where we could see sort of our peak temperatures mid of next week before low pressure starts to run in and could introduce a few thunderstorms. So both the GFS and GM very hot from sort of the middle of this week all the way to the middle of the next week. That's sort of 7-day period. Then there is the potential we could see low pressure come back in, but I'm sure a 7-day quite dry and hot spell is good for all. But looking at sort of the 10-day time frame, that low pressure moving in, it is in the uncertain sort of time frame, so I wouldn't look too much into that at this stage. If we do have a look at the GFS ensembles, you can see all ensemble members are pretty much going for this hot spell at the moment. You can see temperatures starting to ramp up over the next few days. Shower activity completely dissipates, and we have a sort of 4-day stretch where we've near none precipitation signal on the ensemble members. Then we do start to see some divergence by the 19th to 20th of July in about a week's time, with some precipitation returning, but not too much, and temperatures dropping on a few ensemble members. But the majority keep it very hot all the way to sort of the 22nd, 23rd, or even 24th of July, before it does look like low pressure may be coming back in, bringing some cooler conditions in. If we look at the 2 meter temperature, you can see largely of that course, 25 degrees plus for the highs. Again, the ensemble members do sometimes underdo the temperature, so I suspect it could get to 30 degrees in some locations, and we'll have a look at the operational forecast in a minute. So if we do have a look at the GFS max temperatures, we'll skip towards sort of Wednesday when the high pressure starts to build in. You can see temperatures getting up to maybe 22 degrees on Wednesday. By Thursday, we start to see temperatures around 23, 24, maybe 25 in London. By Friday, 24, 25 degrees. And by Saturday, we could be seeing getting up again to 25, maybe even 26 or 27 degrees in some locations before Sunday. Once again, very hot, 27, 28, or even 29. And the odd 30 degree I'm seeing in northern England. Now, sometimes we always associate sort of hot weather with London in the southeast because of the urbanisation and its close proximity to the near continent. But with this scenario, with high pressure firming over the top of the country, all areas can see some very hot conditions. And actually parts of northern England, as we get the Föhn effect, are actually favoured for some of the higher temperatures. And then through Monday, temperatures still very high, 29, 30 degrees perhaps, before temperatures do start to drop as we see low pressure run in. But we're getting towards the uncertain sort of time frame, so we'll have to take that with a pinch of salt. If we now have a look at the GEM, let's just briefly switch over to GEM. If we have a look at the UK temps, we'll go all the way to Wednesday, and you can see temperatures maybe 23, 24 through Wednesday, and then 15th of July, so Thursday, 25, 26 degrees in the southwest as the high pressure starts building with hot air. Then Friday is where we could start to see some widespread warm, 25, 26 further west, and then Saturday, perhaps 26, 27 degrees, and then as we head into Sunday, maybe 26, 27 degrees widely once again. And through Monday, temperatures really getting quite high, 28 to 29 degrees, favouring western areas towards the centre of the high. And then by Tuesday, again, some quite hot conditions, but it does look like some cooler air maybe undercutting in the south. Hotter temperatures, maybe 27, 28 degrees. For Wednesday, again, very hot in the southeast as low pressure is starting to push into the northwest, 28 degrees, maybe a touch warmer than that. But we've got to take those temperatures, of course, with a pinch of salt, as they are towards the uncertain sort of time frame. But it is looking increasingly likely we could be seeing the first 30 degrees of the summer with these sort of upcoming heat wave. But good for all, it's looking dry. That's probably the most important thing for many people. And temperatures will be coming along with that, with mid-20s pretty much for all, and temperatures even getting up to high, maybe even low 30s in some locations. If we do finally sort of finish the video, we'll just briefly update the radar again, just having a look at the current location of the showers. You can see that band of rain is starting to fragment a little bit over sort of that line. We do have those cells once again. And then we've got to keep an eye on some of these cells towards Hertfordshire coming into sort of East Anglia as well, as they could provide some rain. And they are moving on a sort of a southwest trajectory, so they could start to impact some of the areas that have seen a lot of rain already. So we'll just have to keep an eye out for that, as ever. So anyway, thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed. Subscribe if you're new, and I'll see you again for another video soon.